This video is brought to you by Raycon. This last week I saw Bottoms, the latest from Emma Seligman. If the name doesn't ring a bell, she did Shiva Baby, a fantastic little independent film that went places nobody could have seen coming. Bottoms is the follow-up and has been described as a queer fight club starring Rachel Sennett and Ayo Edebiri, and I've been looking forward to it for about 3 years now. See, sometimes I know what movies I'm going to talk about weeks in advance, like I knew the world needed my thoughts on The Little Mermaid way before I saw it. And that said, I didn't think I'd be making a video about Bottoms, but after seeing it, I kind of felt like I had to. Because not only is it a great movie, but it also is sort of a movie I've been waiting for a very long time. Let's get into it. Bottoms is about two high school friends who start a fight club to try and hook up with their crushes and lose their virginities. It has been one hell of a summer for comedies written and directed by women with music from Charlie XCX because man is this funny. I will say, I'd understand if maybe it's not some people's sense of humor. It ended up being a lot weirder than I was expecting it to be with some of its jokes. Cannot recommend this one to my mom. That's what I will say. But I thought this was a hoot. I feel like when doing a comedy where a lot of the jokes are about feminism, it's really easy to lose control of the joke and have the end result come off preachy instead of funny. Not that preachy is necessarily a bad thing, but it isn't what you want when you're seeking out a comedy. A great example is a handful of modern SNL sketches that fall victim to this. But Bottoms sticks the landing pretty much every time, which is kind of a miracle. Even simple bits like the supervisor crossing out the word feminism on the chalkboard land so well, but it happens because of the way Marshawn Lynch delivers it, because it happens as the beat drops in Avril Lavigne's Complicated, because of the devastating context within the scene. I wouldn't say any of the jokes here are lazy. They don't feel like they plugged them into a machine. It truly feels like just a bunch of silly and sometimes stupid bits that a bunch of friends wrote together that eventually ended up in a movie, which is how some of the best teen comedies were conceived. The film is jam-packed with jokes, which really is refreshing to see. Even if I didn't laugh at every joke in the film, I would much rather a comedy be overflowing with bits instead of me having to search for them. The effectiveness of the comedy can be owed to the lead performances from Ayo Edebiri and Rachel Sennett. They both are so good. With Rachel Sennett, I feel like she played her one-noted character and bodies really well, but this finally feels like a character with some real depth and nuance, and I thought she brought it home. As far as I'm concerned, this is the only Rachel Sennett performance I saw this summer. The Idol? No, sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never heard of it. That said, Ayo Edebiri really does make the film. She plays the awkward Michael Cera type dweeb, but again, adds a lot of depth to the character without ever losing sight of the comedy. I don't want to spoil it, but there's a scene later in the film in her bedroom that is so funny and exciting, and I just loved it. I should really catch up with the bear, shouldn't I? Honestly, one of the standouts for me was Marshawn Lynch, as in the former NFL player. He plays the club supervisor in the film, the coach, and I thought he was so funny in pretty much every scene he was in. I just was so surprised and glad that he killed it. Also feel the need to mention Nicholas Galitzine, who plays the hot, popular jock Jeff. I thought he was good and fun, but I will say, kind of a shame that this had to come out after Barbie. It's hard to play this specific kind of character after Ryan Gosling's Ken. Kind of makes this seem like a diet version of that, even if it's still pretty good. A lot of teen comedies write off cinematography, but Bottom seems to actually pay some attention to it. Lots of wide, static shots that depict the school as a really sterile and tough environment to navigate. The choice to go handheld as things start to crumble for the main characters also works really well. This isn't groundbreaking stuff, don't get me wrong, but it just shows a level of extra care was put towards the filmmaking they don't see often in this genre. I will say though, I do think Seligman's chops as a filmmaker shine brightest in that dramatic section of the film in the third act, when things start falling apart. Personally, I way more prefer Emma Seligman doing stressful, uncomfortable filmmaking than the static, absurdly comedic stuff. Maybe that's just me though. But let's stop beating around the bush here. That's all fine and great, but why was this the kind of movie I've been waiting for? What is so special about it? Well, it feels like for the last 5 years, people have been waiting for another classic comedy film. Everyone wants another Superbad, and how can you blame them? When you look at what we have now, the world just hasn't had something like that in a while. Even if When the World gives us one of the funniest and most original comedies of its time, it doesn't go nearly as far as it should with its popularity, and it ultimately feels like it just disappears. Booksmart was blatantly attempting to fill that spot, and I like Booksmart, don't get me wrong, but looking back at it, I wouldn't call it a classic. That's a big one I should have had in my Changed Opinions video now that I think about it. It's just a fun, cute movie, but it doesn't have the grime or grit. It doesn't feel loose, or like it's got its own immature flaws. It's too clean. And this isn't me calling Bottoms a classic. classic less than a week after its release, don't get me wrong. Only time can decide on that, as I've learned many times before. In fact, Bottoms is pretty unconcerned with classic status, as it should be. You see, movies like Booksmart and fuck it, Billy Eichner's Bros, again, movies that I do like, their whole approach is taking a classic formula that has been proven to work, a formula that we've seen before, and modernizing it, giving the queer community a film that represents that experience. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. These are good movies, but the thing about plugging this representation into classic formulas is that those classic formulas were outdated for reasons beyond their lack of representation. They represented a glamorized side of the teen experience or romance. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, we go to the movies to escape. But what I'm saying is that to really grab hold of the current generation and give them the film they've been asking for, the one where they can feel seen, you gotta make your main characters just absolute losers. I mean, look at Superbad. They suck, those guys, but that's like what teenage boys are. Rather than plugging queer characters into the teen comedy genre, Bottoms actually acknowledges the genre and then deconstructs it, makes fun of it, but never loses sight of its satisfying, crowd-pleasy appeal. The characters aren't perfect, the movie isn't perfect, the world of the film is ridiculous, but that's the charm of it, right? And by doing so, you get a really bizarre and unique experience. It's not the next Superbad, it's the first Bottoms, you know? And at the end of the day, when you make something this unique, this authentic, you get something that has a way better chance at sticking with its audience than any of the other recent films I mentioned. So if you can't tell, I really loved it. You'll probably love it. I can't recommend it enough. So thanks for watching. Go watch Bottoms and form your own opinion, or just check out the soundtrack, because damn is it good. A soundtrack that I can't wait to listen to with this week's sponsor, Raycon. Right now, I'm obsessed with Raycon's everyday earbuds. They look, feel, and sound better than ever. I know it's not the best haircut, but I mean, the Raycons kind of make up for it. For one, let's talk about the price. Raycon everyday earbuds not only sound as good as other leading wireless earbuds, but they also offer the same premium quality, if not better, at half the price. And with my code, that's less than $80. Come on, son. My favorite feature is the noise isolation / awareness mode. With their noise isolation, I'm able to block out the hustle and bustle of the big city when I'm going in for a golf swing, but I can also easily switch to awareness mode and make sure I don't miss my train stop while listening to some dope tracks. Which, by the way, they offer 8 hours of playtime and a 32-hour battery life, which is super reliable when I'm on the go. They're perfect for all sorts of situations, when I'm looking to get some work done, training for the triathlon that I just finished, not to brag, or just listening to some tunes around the house. School is back in session, which means Raycon is having their annual back-to-school sale for a limited time only. Get 20% off site-wide, plus free shipping. You guys should really check them out. It's a great way to support the channel. You can click the link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/Karsten to get 20% off your Raycon purchase.